Hello everybody, welcome to the next episode of New Earth Practices. Good to see everybody here once again today. So yesterday we were talking about working with the nonlinear mind. We're going to be looking more into integration with the nonlinear mind today. But of course, as we're going to get started with our practice, we're going to firstly begin by doing our 2 phases of breath, right? Starting off with phase 1, the deep cleansing breath. And then we're going to do a 1 minute worth of heart rate variability. Of course, with heart rate variability, I suggest you guys look into like 10-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute repetitions with heart rate variability daily. The more heart rate variability that you bring into yourself, the subtler you're going to go into the lower idle states, and that is where you're really going to be working very well with the right brain and the subtle energies. Okay, so let's get started firstly with the first phase of breath. Okay, starting off some deep cleansing breaths. Deep breath in and out. In, out, in, out. Now we're going to go into heart rate variability. So remember, it's all nasal breathing. Okay, there's no mouth breathing whatsoever. And we're going to do 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. Okay, so we're going to do that for 1 minute now. Starting now, in breath, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's 1 minute of breathing. And like I said, you want to do heart rate variability for a lot longer than that. Right, so like I said, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and do it frequently throughout the day. All right, whenever you have some spare time, right? If you're working at work, you have your break time, you have your lunch, right? Take a couple minutes, right? Do some heart rate variability breathing. That really just balances everything out. It lowers the heart rate. It forms equilibrium within the body. It stimulates the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. It helps out with many different forms of conditions. It's a very, very wonderful breathing technique to look into. Okay, heart rate variability. Another thing I could suggest as well is, if again you haven't checked out the 30-day BCR technique challenge, and what I'd like you to do is go to either your Google Play or Apple Store and download Resonant Breathing. Okay, it's called the Resonant Breathing app, right? And that's through Forrest Knudsen, and he helped to create this really wonderful app that times your breath when you're doing heart rate variability. Okay, so actually I don't think I can pull it up on my phone right now because I have a green screen, so you probably won't see it all. So again, just go to Google Play or to the Apple Store, download Resonant Breathing. Okay, that's what it's called. Work with that app. Okay, that if you guys really want to learn how to go deeply into spirit, heart rate variability is a requirement. Okay, that's not an option. You want to start working with heart rate variability because that's what's bringing you naturally into a subtle state. Now, over time, if you're an advanced meditator, you may not need it because you're able to naturally go into that subtle state because you're so familiar with how it feels, right? But if you're starting out, heart rate variability is a must. Okay, so please remember to look into that. Very, very important. Okay, one more. Sorry, had to sneeze. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and open up the whiteboard here. Let me just get my program online there. There we go. Okay, so like I said today, we're going to be working with integrating the non-dual, or not, sorry, not the non-dual, the non-linear, which is basically the non-dual in its own way as well too. Okay, so working with the non-linear, as I was talking about yesterday, I had that nice little picture of a fuzzy brain here. We have the left brain and the right brain. And I talked about the common functions of the left brain, right, and the natural connections between the left brain and the right brain. And of course, looking at the figure 8 here, the infinity sign, about how the right brain associates and connects together with the left brain, and the left brain with the right brain. They require each other, right? So no hemisphere is greater than the other, right? They both require each other for the brain itself to function as it does. But what we're going to be looking in more so today is actually being able to integrate the nonlinear, okay? And when we're looking at the nonlinear, yes, we're looking at the non-dual as well too. So remember the tips that I was giving you guys yesterday, okay? When we're looking into the nonlinear, the non-dual, right? When we're working together with going into a meditative practice where we're going into that subtle state of being, the low idle state, what we're doing is we're going into a room that's very dimly lit or even dark, okay? So you're basically closing all your curtains, right? You're turning all the lights off. You're making sure everything is just dim, at best dim, right? If you can go into a dark room, that's the best, all right? So again, what we're starting with when we're going into subtle, whoops, I'll go back to my program there. We're going into subtle state, okay? To go into the subtle state, we want to firstly start off with the phase 1 and 2 breathing, okay? So that's your deep cleansing breath. That's your heart rate variability as well too, okay? After we do heart rate variability, again, for like 10, 15 minutes, for example, all right, we're going to do the peripheral pillars. So I demonstrated that yesterday as well too, just using your 2 index fingers, okay? So if you're in a dimly lit space and you can see your 2 fingers here, you're just picking a spot, right? You just have a little point that you're staring at, and you're just taking everything in all at the same time. So you're working with your peripherals because you're aware of your peripheral vision by using these pillars here, right? Your 2 index fingers represent the pillars. Now you don't have to use your index fingers if you have 2 spots that you can identify as peripherals. You can use that too as your peripheral pillars. But all you're doing is you're just being aware of your peripherals because you're taking in everything visually, okay? So everything you see, smell, taste, touch, and hear, you're taking all of that in at the same time, okay? You're not analyzing anything. You're not examining anything. You're not evaluating anything. There's nothing of that nature. All you're doing is witnessing, okay? So I want you just to be aware of your space right now. We'll do it even if you're in a illuminated space right now, okay? And I want you just to take out your index fingers like this, okay? Or if you have 2 points that you can mark as your peripherals, you can do that as well too. But they should be within your peripheral fields, okay? And I want you just to stare forward, picking a spot. And now I want you just to be aware firstly of everything that you see. Okay, secondly, I want you to be aware of everything you smell. Thirdly, I want you to be aware of everything you touch. Okay, your clothes are touching you. Okay, you're feeling your hands like this. Okay, that's a touch. Okay, fourthly, I want you to look at everything that you taste, right? Be aware of everything that you taste. Okay, so maybe you're just tasting the saliva in your mouth, that's fine. Finally, everything that you hear. Okay, so you're aware of all the 5 senses, and now I want you to take them all in at the same time, beginning now. Okay, how are you feeling when you're trying to take in all 5 senses at the same time? Do your thoughts stop? It's exactly what happens. Okay, this is why this is a really great technique. So we're going into the phase 1, phase 2 breath, right? The cleansing breath, and we're going into heart rate variability, right? Which is getting you into that low idle state, the subtle state. Okay, then we're using our peripheral pillars. Okay, and we're taking in all 5 senses at once. All 5 senses. Okay, so what we do firstly is we just are aware of each sense one at a time. All right, so your sight, your smell, your taste, your touch, your hearing. Just take them in one at a time just for a few seconds. And once you have done that, take it all in at once. Okay? It may sound complicated, but it's not, because you're not trying to analyze or examine anything. All you're doing is taking in all 5 senses at the same time, right? You're working with your peripheral pillars because this is indicating your peripheral vision. So you're taking in the entire sight. You're taking in everything relating to sensory data, and you're just witnessing it. And as you're just witnessing all 5 senses at the same time, your mind goes completely blank. That's what we need to get into the right brain. Okay? We want to basically have our mind thoughtless. So working with the peripheral pillars, working on experiencing all 5 of your senses at the same time is going to quiet the mind and move you further into the right brain. Okay? So that is, again, just some of the steps. We're going to go into another step right now. This is where we're going to actually start to look into spirit light. Okay? So this, of course, is an optional exercise. You do not have to do this because it can be a little challenging to do this. Right? It is referred to as the yoni mudra. Okay? And what you're doing is there's a couple different ways you can do it. There's even some ways I've invented as well too. You have to be very, very careful when you're doing the yoni mudra though. Okay? You do not want to put a lot of pressure on your eyes. Okay? So you basically would put your thumbs here in your ears, resting your index, middle, and ring finger on the forehead, taking your 2 pinky fingers and just slightly, softly putting them on the corner of your eyes and basically just trying to look up first. And then you're just pushing the eyes forward, giving it a little bit of pressure. And then you can add a teeny little bit of pressure more, right? And you just stay there with your eyes looking up, okay? Looking up at the spirit eye. And as you do that, what you're doing is you're borrowing light from the 2 eyeballs, right? And they're being directed upwards into the 3rd eye, or the spirit eye, okay? And we're staying there. This takes some practice. It may not be something that you'll get right away, okay? There's some other versions of it, okay, where you're basically taking your thumbs here and basically just putting your index and middle finger here over your eyes, your ring finger against the nostrils here because you're going to restrict your breathing, and just resting your pinkies along here, okay? This is basically a Kriya technique, all right? So that's another version of it as well too. It's not really my preferred version. I don't really care for that version too much because the 2 fingers are over the eyes and it's really difficult to move your eyes up when you have 2 fingers over your eyes like that. But nonetheless, it's taught like that, okay? So one of the more preferred methods is using the pinky fingers, all right? And you're just touching the corners of your eyes here, all right? You're just giving gentle pressure until you're actually starting to see that subtle light. I've done a video on this about spirit light, being able to see your own spirit light, okay? So you're using your pinky fingers for that, okay? One of my alternatives that I've done is that you would actually get earplugs. You would plug your ears with earplugs, okay? And then you would use your knuckles of your index fingers. And I just start like this, okay? So I'd have earplugs in the ears. And I'll explain why that is in a moment. And we're just basically taking those knuckles. I'm looking up at the spirit eye, closing my eyes, and then just gently pressing with the knuckles. And as I go within, I can start to feel the fabric, that kind of fabric-like visual. And then at times I start to see that subtle kind of spirit light. Sometimes I can see a star as well too. It's a beautiful thing, right? So what you're doing, like I said, is you're directing your eyes up. That's very, very important. We're not just keeping our eyes front here, right? When we're doing the press, the gentle press, right, we're looking up, okay? So remember how I taught you guys how to go into the alpha? It's like this, okay? That's what we're doing. We're looking up, okay? With our eyes closed, we're looking up, and we're doing that gentle pressure, and we're contributing the light of the eyes up into the spirit eye, right? And that's where you're actually seeing subtle spirit light. You can see like a ring. It's kind of like the mouth of a cave, right? It has like light just pouring out of it. There's many different interpretations of it. Forrest Knudsen also talks about this quite a bit in regards to his experience with the spirit eye, okay? Now, don't be in a hurry with this. When you're working together with spirit light, this could take years, all right? It all just depends upon the person, right? So as I'm doing it, I'm getting it pretty quickly, but I have 13 years of channeling experience and meditation experience under my belt, right? Some of you may be starting meditation for the first time, okay? So when you're getting into the spirit light practice, like I said, it's an optional. This is an optional practice. You do not have to get involved with it if you don't want to. but this helps you to see spirit light. Right? So it's called the Yoni Mudra, Y-O-N-I. Okay, you can look that word up if you're not too sure of it. All right. So again, that's working together with spirit light, and if that's the option that you want to look into, you by all means can do so. So once we're working together with spirit light, okay, we're now going to work with going into silence and stillness. Okay, and we're just abiding there. So when we're going into silence, we're going into stillness, we are abiding into that. Okay, this is you going into the non-dual. Right? Some may ask, well, Brad, what about me being able to talk to the right brain? What about me being able to talk to the right mind? Oh, we'll get to that, right? You'll get to the non-linear. But this is what I just want you to be aware of firstly, so that you're in that state to therefore experience the higher mind. Okay? So we're going into the silent stillness. Really all that entails is just being completely in the abidance of yourself. Okay? That's the ultimate practice, everybody. Okay? The ultimate practice is to be completely in your own self-abidance. This is self-inquiry. Okay? Even when you look at Kriya Yoga, for example, one of the final practices is using a type of self-inquiry, because you're doing your Kriya exercises, your Kriya Yoga, and you feel so blissed out after doing it that now you go into that silent or stillness. And it's the same thing if you're doing like Kundalini Yoga or any other form of yoga that really just gives you that bliss hit after you do it, right? Like if you're doing a 75-minute to 90-minute yoga session and you just feel absolutely amazing afterwards, this is where the silence and the stillness comes in, right? You're just sitting quietly and you're witnessing yourself, right? Who is it that is seeing through these eyes? Who is it that is witnessing this life? Who am I? Am I aware of being aware, right? And what you're doing is you're just sitting and you're just in bliss with yourself. It's an emptiness, but it's a harmonious emptiness, right? This is what Ramana Maharshi was teaching. The nature of self-inquiry is that you just keep asking within your mind, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Right? And you just keep repeating, I. And as you're there, this brings you into a subtle state as well. Okay? As you go into that subtle state, because you're just constantly being aware of I, you go into that lower idle state, and you're just sitting in your silence. You're sitting in your stillness. And it's a bliss. I know, I've experienced it. It's a wonderful feeling. But it's something you have to keep working with. Because what we're attempting to do through all of these steps here is we are minimalizing the ego. Okay? That's what we're doing. Now, some people can say we can destroy the ego in that sense, and that's something very rare that people can do, right? We can certainly look to kill the ego, right? That is a possibility. I don't really want to get into that conversation today, but I will be getting into that down the road because it is a bit of a big conversation, and I don't have a lot of time today with you guys. So what we're working to do is shrinking the ego down. If it's this big, we want to make it no more bigger than a dot. Okay? It's what I refer to as the partial withdrawal path, okay? Which is the path that I walk. The full withdrawal path, if I was doing the full withdrawal path, guys, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I wouldn't have this house. I wouldn't have anything in regards to possessions. I'd probably be selling them all, and I'd probably just be building a shelter in the middle of the wilderness and living there to go into complete withdrawal, right? And that's a path only made for a few, right? It's not a very popular path whatsoever. So I'm not doing that path. The path that I'm doing is the partial withdrawal, right? That you're still existing in modern society, but you're not modern society yourself, right? I live in the world, but I am not a part of the world. That's basically the nature of it. And like I said, that's something I'll talk a bit more about down the road, okay? So let's recap here. So we're going into a subtle state. We're doing the phase 1 and phase 2 breath, okay? Look into the BCR technique 30-day challenge. This is what I talk about with phase 1 and 2 breathing, okay? Which is your breath work. We're going into that calmness as we do heart rate variability, okay? We're using the peripheral pillars. Again, we're just using this because it's helping with our visual observation, okay? We're using all 5 senses. We're keeping our mind quiet. right? And we just stay there. We stay there for as long as we can to keeping the mind nice and quiet. Now, when you're doing this in darkness, quite often, you'll dilate your eyes, okay? So if you're in a dark room and you're just taking in all of your senses, maybe you can't see much ahead, that's okay, don't worry about it. If all you see is blackness, observe the blackness, okay? You still have your other four senses that have information as well too, and you're just observing it, right? So as we do that, we're keeping our mind quiet. We can do the optional spirit light practice if we want. You do not have to, it's optional. Okay, and then we're just going to be sitting in our stillness. We're going to be sitting in our silence. So again, as we're there, as we're still, we're clear. So this is where the idea of talking to the right brain comes in. All right. If you're still inquisitive about the topic that you want to discuss with the right brain, that would be your time to put that intention forward. Okay, and you're just sharing the intention. You're just sharing the perspective. Right? What is it? Is it something about finances? Right? Is it something about getting a new house? Is it something about a soulmate? Whatever it is that you feel you want to discuss with the right brain, if it's still there, you can go ahead and do that, okay? So what this is doing is this is helping you to kind of filter yourself out of any of those particular queries, right? If you don't really have any queries, you're just enjoying yourself sitting in silence. This happens all the time with me. I'd want to ask the right brain something. I want to ask the higher mind something. And I'll go into a meditation afterwards like, I don't really care anymore. I'm just so happy sitting in my silence. I'm so happy just being present here. I don't really care about that question anymore. Great. That's actually what we're attempting to do. We're seeing if we can clear away that kind of intellectual quest, right? If that can be dissolved. Now, if it's still there, then go ahead and ask a question, right? And just, again, sitting in the silence and letting the download come into you once you're finished with your meditation. So that's what you want to say is that, okay, here's my question. Please send me a download after my meditation is finished. Okay? And then you come out of your meditation, you come back into normal consciousness. Now you may start to feel this flow of energy, of information coming through the right brain that the left brain is now trying to interpret. Okay? That's how it works, right? When we're getting that information from the right brain, it's going to go through the filter of the left when we're coming back into normal consciousness. Right? So we're just being aware of that flow. So, okay, well, here's what I do. Okay, I'm feeling the need to move to this place, right? To talk to this person, whatever it is, whatever your information is, you receive it. Okay, so we go through the entire steps here, right to the end, to silent stillness. And then when we feel that impulse, all right, do I still have that question in me? Do I still have that intrigue within me? Now we present that to the great mind. Now we present that to the Akashic Records. Now we present that to the Hall of Amenti. Now we present that to the collective unconscious. Now we present that to the God mind. Now we present that to the causal plane. Okay? And we said, okay, please just send me the download after I'm finished my meditation. Okay? So sit in stillness for as long as you want. And then when you're ready to come back, that download will be waiting for you. All right? So give this a try. This is how we're integrating the non-linear into ourselves. This is how we get there. Okay, you are not going to go into the non-linear if you have a chatty monkey mind. Okay, it's not going to work that way. We want to make sure that we're keeping out of the linear mind and we're coming more into the non-linear mind, right? So if we want to go into the right brain, because the right brain is the knower of all, the knower of everything. It always sees the big picture. It is the big picture. It is the God mind. So you can absolutely ask anything that you wish pertaining to the right brain, all right? Just as long as we still have that curiosity. We still have that intellectual kind of itch that we're still saying, okay, yeah, I went through all this, but I still have that. Well, great. Now you can work together with the right brain and you can ask that question, okay? So like I said, work with this. Give it a try. Maybe I'll do more of a demonstrative process, although I'm not really too sure how to do that because it's not like I can take a camera inside my head to see what's happening, right? So again, if you just follow those particular processes, like I said, the spirit light is optional, but the entire key here is that we're attempting just to go right into the right brain, and you know you're there when everything is silent, when everything feels expansive, when everything feels spacious, when you're completely at ease, right? When you feel completely still. So it's like I'm saying too, is that as we're doing heart rate variability, for example, we're being completely still. We're like a granite statue. We don't move. Okay. That too is very important because you're functioning as an anchor, right? You're a stabilizer, and you're keeping yourself very still. If you do a lot of movements, then you're disrupting the flow of energy, right? We want to keep ourselves very, very still, like a granite statue, right? So that too takes some practice. It's okay, of course, to lift your abdomen when you're breathing, right? But right, we're not doing like head movements. We're not like getting fidgety, right? Rolling our shoulders. You're disrupting the energy. Okay. It's kind of like you're playing that game Jenga, right? You know, where you put a block on the bottom and you put it on top, right? Everything has to be done very delicate. If you move, right, the entire tower is going to fall. So you're playing Jenga here. You're playing Jenga with yourself here. And you're just keeping yourself very still. If you're taking that block from the bottom, you're trying to put it on top, but if you move too suddenly or too harshly, right, that energy is going to crash. Now, it's not as harsh as that when you're going into meditation, but you can disrupt the flow, right? So we want to just work to keeping ourselves very, very still. Okay, that's the important key here. And like I said, this is moving you into the non-linear, the non-dual, right? We are going to be talking about that more. In tomorrow's discussion, I'm going to be talking more about the heart, okay, and heart breathing, and working together with the heart and opening yourself up a lot more so that you are actually able to speak to the right brain naturally, okay? This, of course, still does take time, right? But there are those who have been able to calibrate themselves who do not need to go into this full-out experience, although I recommend it because it's very liberating. But if you open up your heart enough, you're going to have the right brain talk to you, okay? It's the right brain talking to the left. That's how it works, okay? It's what I did with channeling, okay? When Adronis came through, it was the right brain speaking with the left brain, getting all this information coming out, right? Aligning myself to that state, right, where I could align to his frequency, right? And he was there, and he was doing a lot of the work behind the scenes. He was just keeping things held for me. So then he would come through, and then he would share a lot of information, okay, through a left brain principle, right? But where he was the right brain, okay? So what I'm doing right now is I'm just working together with the right brain as I'm holding everything. And that's moving through me. And I'm speaking in that way, right? But it's not a channeling state. It's just, I am spirit. Best way I can put it, speaking with spirit, right? Okay, so that is the main discourse for today. We'll just take a look and see if there's any questions here in the chat. Okay. So have one here from Tommy. Tommy says, any tips when the eyes in between the eyebrows start flickering really fast? Anything significant there? When the eyes are in between the eyebrows start flickering really fast? Not really. That's mainly just a twitch that you can have at times, right? So if you're trying to look up to the third eye, what I would suggest first is if this is a little bit difficult, if it's causing you to twitch a lot, with the eyes are flickering very fast and it's hard for you to concentrate, go here instead, okay? Take your finger and just put it to the tip of your nose and concentrate there, okay? As you're concentrating there, okay, your eyes are focused on the tip of your nose, you're bringing your intention to the brow chakra, okay? And it's like you're just feeling the brow chakra's awareness, okay? So you're putting awareness to the brow chakra even though your eyes are here, okay? So what you may want to do is just kind of take your thumb and just press against it, right? So you can kind of feel that sensation. Okay, take the tip of your finger, touching the tip of your nose, your eyes there, and you're concentrating on that sensation of you touching your brow. Okay, and that will work just fine as well too. Okay, so like I said, if you're working with spirit light, that's basically the process. You want to be able to feel comfortable in bringing your eyes upwards. Okay, but an alternative to that is just touching the tip of the nose with your finger, looking at the root of the tip of the finger, the tip of the nose, okay, and just concentrating on your third eye. That's another alternative that you can do, right? So if that works for you, great. Okay. Katie says, Brad, can I wear a mask to be in darkness? I stay in a condo, and it is impossible to be in complete darkness. I really wouldn't recommend that. I really wouldn't recommend putting a blindfold over yourself or anything of that nature. If you're having a difficult time staying in darkness, just make do with the best you can. Like I said, if you have windows, right? If you have drapes, close them. Okay, but maybe have light drapes. So maybe you want to get like a big towel, like a beach towel, and just put that over the drapes as best you can. Work in the best way that you can to darken out the light, okay? Otherwise, do it in the evening, okay, when it's dark out. Okay, you got darkness, and you can work with that in that way. But I don't recommend putting a blindfold over yourself in that sense. That's a little too distracting, okay, and you don't need to do that. So my recommendation is have nothing that really obstructs the face. Here's something that I would also suggest as well too, okay? It's good to actually do meditation with as little clothes as possible, okay? If you have obstructing clothes, they should come off, okay? If you do decide to wear clothes, make sure they're very loose fitting, okay? You don't want to get distracted by confining clothes here, okay? So like I said, if the clothes are too distracting, lose the clothes. Otherwise, wear clothes that are very, very loose, okay? It's kind of the same thing with a yoga practice, right? They'll just say make sure you're wearing a lot of loose fits, right? You're not wearing those tight yoga pants or anything like that. Those are just trendy. But really the whole idea is just to make sure everything is loose, okay? And if that doesn't work, try to do your yoga practice with as little clothes as possible, right? This is why naked yoga is such a big thing. It's the same thing with meditation as well, too. You want to look at it in the same way, is that you want your body to be free, right? You want to be completely non-distracted relating to the type of clothes that you're wearing, okay? You want to bring your awareness here. You want to bring your awareness here. You're not bringing your awareness to your clothes, okay? So the same thing with wearing a blindfold, that's way too distracting. So I would not recommend that. It's up to you if you want to do it, but that would not be my recommendation for something like that, okay? Okay, guys, we're out of time for episode number 2 today. So again, just look back into everything I've shared here, perform those practices, and tomorrow we're going to be looking more into the heart and heart breathing. So that's going to be another very exciting episode. Now, the New Earth practices here is basically going to be done for about 4 weeks, right? After 4 weeks, we'll have a conclusion episode. So again, this does have a time limit in regards to the amount of episodes that I'll be sharing with you guys. But again, it will be available through a playlist, okay? The playlist is already on my YouTube channel. So you can, again, check out the playlist there if you're just starting this today. Go to the playlist, check out episode number 1. And again, I'll be back tomorrow with the heart and the heart breath. All right. Thank you, guys. Take care, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow. Be well.